Okay, so we're back and ready to dive in. You know how this works. We've got all this great source material you guys sent in, and we're going to break it all down for you. This time it looks like we're picking up right where we left off with Tomás. He's been through a lot lately, as I'm sure you all remember, but we're not going to rehash all that. We're going to be focusing on the texto colado you sent, and specifically on how things are unfolding for Tomás right now, both in his world and, well, in Zara.
Yeah, that's exactly it. So what are the most important things that are happening to Tomas now? What have we learned from his experiences and observations and from what Zaz has been thinking and doing? We want to bring you up to speed on all of that. It's a lot going on, really.
Right. Like it's the morning after everything happens.
Yeah.
And the guy's feeling like really good. He's talking about the wonderful night and the divine blessing and the farewell kiss. You'd almost think everything was totally fine and dandy.
Yeah, you could get that impression, I guess. But it sounds a little forced, right? He's already worried about feeling bad later. He calls it remorse, and it sounds like he's expecting it to hit him any minute. Maybe he knows, deep down, that this good feeling isn't going to last. And then there's this golden glow, the blessing from Carr. He's walking around worried that everyone's going to be able to see it. So, even though he seems happy, he's still carrying all that baggage from Zara around with him.
Yeah. And he's probably self-conscious. Like, can you imagine
Yeah.
trying to act normal when you think you're literally glowing? And then to make matters even more complicated, he gets in the shower and, whoa, talk about a weird experience. He's washing his hair, and all of a sudden there's this feeling of silk on his leg and these hands touching him like a woman's body.
Yeah, that sounds pretty unsettling. I mean, at first, maybe he thinks it's Zaza, But then he hears Shad's voice, and that's when things get really creepy.
Yeah, this is not your typical shower experience. I mean, he's completely frozen, can't move a muscle, totally helpless, while Shad's doing all this stuff to him. And it's so different from what he had with Zaza, right? That was all, like, consensual, and this, it's just wrong.
Yeah, this definitely has a totally different vibe. It's like predatory, you know what I mean? And then there's that part where Shad wraps her tail around his leg and kisses him and bites him hard enough to draw blood. And she says this really creepy thing like, even the taste is similar, but you haven't arrived yet. Like he's not quite what she wants yet, but she's working on it. What do you think about that?
It's disturbing, right? And the weirdest part is that he feels pleasure from the bite, even though it's painful and there's blood.
Yeah.
I mean, he's really confused and even wondering if he's a masochist or something. It's so unlike the good feeling he got from Carr's blessing. Like the whole thing is just so messed up.
Totally different, yeah. With Carr, it was this outward visible thing, this glow. But with Shad, it's all internal, affecting him deeply and leaving a physical mark. I mean, think about it. The pleasure he feels, it's tied to Shad's power and his connection to Zara. So it's not like normal pleasure. It's something deeper and way more complicated. And then there's how he tries to hide the bite right away, like it's something he should be ashamed of. When you look at both of these blessings, it shows you just how strange and unpredictable these deities can be.
Yeah, wow. Okay, so moving on from that, heavy shower experience, we see Tomás at breakfast with his family. It's kind of a typical family scene, but they're all surprised to see him doing so well after being in the hospital.
Right. You'd expect him to be resting, but he's acting like nothing happened. It's almost like he's putting on a show, trying to prove he's fine.
Yeah. And his mom is all, did you get a haircut?
Yeah.
Because she notices something different about him, which we know is probably because of Carr's blessing, right?
Yeah.
And even his dad makes a rare appearance at breakfast and jokes about how Tomás is turning into a man. It's like this brief moment of normalcy in the middle of all this craziness. But even then,
you can still see those little signs of what he's going through, right? Like
yeah.
Tiana teases him about coming home so quickly, and he just says that Zara is still trapped and that things are complicated. You can tell he's got all this stuff weighing on his mind.
Yeah, he's definitely not telling them everything, but they can sense something's up. And then there's this really strange moment where he looks at Tiana and, well, he's reminded of Zaza because they're about the same height. It's like this instant wave of negativity, yeah. And it even makes him physically shake.
Yeah.
Like his mind's making these connections that he doesn't want to think about, and then he just takes off for school. Like he's got to get out of there.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like he can't even be around his own family without being reminded of Zara. And that reaction to Tiana, it shows just how much his experiences are messing with his head. Like his whole world is getting twisted around.
It's heavy stuff. So at school, he notices that Rafa isn't there. And his first thought is that he needs to learn healing magic so he can help Rafa. He's even thinking about how Zaza's family is good at that sort of thing. It seems like he's already planning his next trip to Zara.
That's interesting, isn't it? It's like he's not just being pulled along by Zaza and her desires anymore. He's starting to see Zara as a place where he can actually do something, like get some skills that will help him and his friends. That's a big change for
It
Tomás.
is a big change. I mean, he's being proactive instead of reactive for once. But then he gets to school, and there's another surprise waiting for him. It's Mandy, April, and Susie all hanging out together like they're best friends. Talk about a shift in the social scene. And Mandy, of all people, seems genuinely happy.
Right. And April's there too. That's really unexpected. I mean, usually she's pretty much off on her own. But Susie is so warm and friendly towards Tomás, asking how he's doing. You can really tell that she's a true friend.
Yeah, she's a good one. And she even makes a comment about April being crazy, which kind of lightens the mood a bit.
Yeah, a little humor in the middle of all this drama never hurts, right? But that whole shift in the social dynamics, it's something to keep an eye on.
Absolutely. And then there's this moment where Tomas thinks back to when he and Mandy were dating. He remembers being attracted to her, not just for her looks, but for something more, like he saw a glimpse of who she really was. And he actually kind of regrets that things didn't work out between them. But then Susie changes the subject and teases him about forgetting something.
And it turns out she's had his backpack all along. He didn't even realize it was missing.
Yeah, he's been so distracted that he didn't even notice his backpack was gone. Talk about being out of it. It shows you how deeply affected he is by everything that's happened. But anyway, he's back in class, and he finds that learning is suddenly super easy for him. He thinks it might be because of Carr's blessing, or maybe even some of the mage's memories that he's somehow absorbed.
So he's getting some real benefits from all of this. I mean, who wouldn't love to learn effortlessly? And people are paying attention to him too, wondering what happened, how he's doing. It seems like everyone's a little more interested in him now.
Yeah, I wonder if that's part of the blessing too. Like, maybe it's making people see him differently, in a more positive light. It's kind of an interesting thought.
It is interesting. It makes you wonder how far these blessings can actually reach. It's not just about him, it's affecting everyone around him too.
For sure. But then it's lunchtime, and he's missing Rafa again. He meets Susie at their usual spot, and she mentions using the translator, which is cool. And then she says this kind of cryptic thing about Rafa singing off-key. What was that all about?
It's a bit random, right? But I think it means that she's been messing around with those Zara texts and maybe even talking to Rafa using the translator. It could be that the off-key singing was just a misunderstanding, or maybe some kind of joke between them. But the point is, she's getting more involved in this whole Zara thing, which is a pretty big deal.
Yeah, I think you're right. And then, the big reveal. Susie asks to see where he got the weapon texts from. And it turns out she has the grammar notebook. That's huge. They're both holding these essential pieces of this weapon mystery. And, Tomas tries to explain how he got the notebooks, saying he found them in a forest with Zaza. But,
He conveniently leaves out the fact that he took them from a dead guy, right?
oh yeah, maybe a little too much information for Susie at this point.
Probably a good call on his part. I mean, that's a pretty heavy thing to admit. And then there's the fact that there were other scrolls and a metal object with the notebooks. So it sounds like there's still more to discover about this weapon. And then there's Susie. She's clearly struggling with whether to tell Tomas what she knows. It sounds like she's got some serious intel.
Yeah, it's definitely getting more complicated. So anyway, Tomas fills Susie in on what's been happening in Zara, avoiding the more personal stuff with Zaza, of course. He tells her that Zaza is so interested in him because he's from a different world and because she wants Marifa.
Ah, Marifa. Good old Marifa. Or should I say good old she, right? At least that's what Susie thinks. It's pretty funny, actually.
Right. Yeah, she thinks Marifa is, like, this other woman that Zaza's interested in. Tomas has to explain that Marifa is the mage's knowledge, not a person. But it's a good moment, kind of lightens things up. And meanwhile, all this is happening right under the noses of Mandy and April, who are watching them. Not everyone's happy about it either, especially Mandy's crew.
Ouch, yeah. Looks like someone's jealous.
Maybe. So Ricardo's still working on getting those weapon parts made, which is another piece of the puzzle to keep in mind. And then April just comes right out and says it. She wants Tomas if Mandy's not interested anymore.
Wow, talk about bold. It seems like something about Tomas has changed for her. Like she sees something different in him now, something more interesting. And then there's Mandy. I mean, she doesn't want to be with Tomas anymore, but she's not exactly thrilled about April's interest. She's especially intrigued by the idea of going to another world. It's all very complicated. What do you make of it?
Yeah, it's like she still has feelings for Tomas, even if she's trying to deny it. Or maybe she's just curious about Zara. Who knows? And April's all cool about it, like, whatever, I can wait. She's definitely got confidence. And then there's Tinga, who flat out asks April if she got any information from Tomas. And April's answer, You guessed it.
Yes. Oh, she's definitely got something up her sleeve. This whole love triangle, if you can even call it that, it's just adding fuel to the fire. It's clear that Tomás and his Zara adventures are shaking things up at school, in a big way.
You're telling me. Anyway, school ends, and Susie asks Tomas to say hi to Rafa for her and says she'll visit him later. Then she asks him to bring back the other texts from Zara, which is a little strange. And Tomas realizes he has no idea where his Zara backpack is. Susie kisses him goodbye on the cheek, and as she's walking away with Mandy and April, Tomas notices how she looks again. So maybe his feelings for Susie are starting to change too. It's subtle, but it's definitely there.
Yeah, after spending time with Zaza and all those other unique individuals in Zara, it makes sense that he might see his friends differently now. Maybe he's comparing them without even realizing it.
That's a good point. So he goes to Rafa's house, and on the way, he has a brief encounter with Rafa's mom, Velma.
Oh, Velma. She's something else, isn't she?
She is. And when he finally gets to Rafa's, he finds him playing video games. Rafa's totally jealous that Tomas is recovering so quickly, since he's still pretty banged up. So Tomas tells Rafa everything about Zara, holding nothing back. He tells him about the massacre, about Zaza, about Shad, about the mage, the whole 9 yards.
No filter at all, huh? I guess he feels like he can really be himself with Rafa.
And of course, Rafa doesn't believe him at first. I mean, who would? This whole alien thing is a bit much to swallow. But then Tomas talks about how he feels like the alien now, which is really sad.
Yeah, it's actually heartbreaking when you think about it. It's like he doesn't belong anywhere anymore.
And then they have this conversation about whether Zara is real or not. And Tomas says it's 99% real. And Rafa agrees, based on what Tomas told him about the mage needing golems. You know, even if it's not real in the traditional sense, it's real enough to affect their lives.
That's an important takeaway for our listeners, for sure. It doesn't matter if it's another dimension or a dream or whatever. What matters is that it's having real consequences. And the way Rafa reacts to Tomas's description of the Shantanian attack, you can tell that it really messed him up.
Yeah, it was a terrifying experience for both of them. And Tomas promises Rafa that he'll learn healing magic to help him, even though Rafa jokes about not wanting those disgusting worms anywhere near him. It's a sweet moment, really. It shows how close their friendship is. They end up playing more video games, and then Tomas goes home to study Chiron. You know, he's still trying to make sense of everything that's happened and figure out what it all means.
He's definitely got a lot to process, but at least he's got his family and friends to support him, and he's trying to learn more about this new world he's been thrust into.
Yeah. So now we're going to shift gears a bit and look at what's happening back in Zara. Zaza is, well, bored. She asked Temulo to put together those reports, but now she doesn't even want to read them. It seems like the novelty has worn off. But luckily, Tratzanel shows up and gives her something else to focus on.
Yeah, it looks like things have calmed down between them a bit. I mean, they're not exactly besties, but they're able to talk about Tomas without all that tension and jealousy. And Zaza's actually trying to make Trat feel more comfortable, which is kind of surprising, isn't it?
It is. Like, she's trying to be diplomatic. She definitely has her own agenda, but she's willing to play nice, at least for now.
Right. And then Trat drops a bomb. She thinks she has what Zaza asked for. Zaza's all excited, but then it turns out that she made a promise not to use whatever it is.
Yeah, classic Zaza.
Yeah.
But even though she can't use it, she tells Trat to document everything, just in case.
Right.
Like, she's always thinking ahead, looking for any advantage she can get.
Oh, she's definitely a strategist. And she's impressed with Trat's efficiency, which is kind of funny considering how much they clashed before.
Yeah, it's almost like they're working together.
Yeah.
But then Trat asks the question we've all been wondering. Is Zaza going to keep Tomas in Zara?
The million-dollar question.
And Zaza says she's not going to force him. She wants him to stay willingly, at least for the time being. So it seems like she's changed her approach, which is interesting. And it's clear that Trat is relieved because she obviously cares about Tomas too.
Yeah, she's torn between her loyalty to Zaza and her concern for Tomas. It's got to be tough.
Definitely. So Trat gets a little bolder and asks about Zaza's interest in Tomas in the first place. And we find out that Trat was the one who told Zaza about her grandfather's message. And Zaza gets all embarrassed, which is kind of cute.
Huh. Yeah, it's a humanizing moment, you know? Makes her seem less like a powerful sorceress and more like a person.
Yeah, exactly. Makes me wonder what that message was all about. Maybe we'll find out eventually.
Yeah.
Anyway, Zaza then explains that she can see people's dance of energy and their amandla. She says Trat's amandla is green and hers is light pink and white. Trat's pretty shocked by all this, but then Zaza says something even more surprising.
Wait for it.
Tomas' amandla is black.
Black! Like, what does that even mean?
Yeah, Zaza describes it as black, like the black smoke of a fire. Pretty intense, right? And at first, Trapp thinks it means he doesn't have a deity, but Zaza's been watching him closely, and she's got a different theory.
Oh, this is good. I can't wait to hear this.
So Zaza compares it to mixing all these different colors of paint together and ending up with black. She thinks Tomás has so many graces that they all just blend together, and that's why his amandla appears black. And, get this, she says that's one of the reasons she's so fascinated by him, along with his, physical appearance.
Oh, so it's not that he's empty, it's that he's got so much going on, it's overwhelming. That's a really cool idea. It explains why he's so unique in Zara and why Zaza's so drawn to him.
Yeah, it's like he's this blank canvas that all these deities are trying to paint on, and Tret doesn't really have anything to say about it, which makes sense. I mean, this is all new territory for her, too. And then Zaza almost asks Tret for help with convincing Tomás to stay, but she changes her mind. Their conversation ends there, but it's clear that things are far from over.
Not even close. So to recap, Tomás is back home, but he's dealing with some serious fallout from Zara, both physically and emotionally. He's got this weird bite from Shad, and his feelings for Susie might be changing. Meanwhile, the mystery of the weapon texts is getting deeper, and there's this whole love triangle thing brewing at school. And back in Zara, Zaza is still obsessed with Tomás, and his unique amandla makes him even more interesting to her. It's a lot to keep track of.
You said it.
Mm-hmm.
But that's what we're here for, right? To break it all down and give you guys the essential info. We've covered Tomás's experiences, Zaza's thoughts and actions, and how everyone else is reacting to all of this. Hopefully we've saved you some time and effort by putting it all together in one place.
Absolutely. If there's one thing to remember from all of this, it's that Shad's influence is a lot more disturbing than we thought. And Tomás's amandla, that black smoke, it's a big deal. It could mean that he's got connections to all sorts of deities. And don't forget about the changes in his social life, with Mandy and April vying for his attention.
So here's something for you all to think about. We've got Car's blessing, which seems to be mostly positive, and then Shad's bite, which is totally creepy and has some seriously strange effects. And then there's Zaza's interpretation of Tomás's amandla, where she says he's got all these graces mixed together. What does all this mean for Tomás's connection to Zara and the deities? Are these forces shaping him in ways we can't even imagine? And with everyone, from his friends to Zaza, so interested in him, what's going to happen next?
Those are some great questions, and hopefully we'll find some answers in the next batch of source material. Until then, keep those theories coming.
Thanks for joining us for another deep dive, and we'll see you next time.